I let the hot water beat down on my head. I had to get rid of this headache before the meeting. I couldn't figure out why I felt so lousy. My eyes were bloodshot, my mouth felt as dry as a desert wind, and tasted like summer roadkill. I needed to look sharp and with it for the meeting, even if it was online, and I could technically be naked from the waist down. After a good 30 minutes, I got out of the shower feeling a little better. My mouth still tasted bad after brushing my teeth, but no one would be able to smell my breath over the internet, and I knew I had eye drops somewhere to perk up my eyes. I went into the bedroom and got dressed. My bed was a mess. I didn't understand why. I thought I'd slept soundly. Didn't even remember getting up to go to the bathroom. I went to straighten it. When I picked up my pillow to fluff it, I noticed a white smudge on the blue fabric. I touched it. Greasy, like lotion or makeup. I stared at it, trying to figure out where it had come from, but nothing came to mind. I tossed the pillowcase into the hamper and headed into the kitchen to grab something quick to eat. There was an open, half-empty water bottle on the counter. I vaguely remembered drinking it. I poured out the rest and grabbed a fresh one from the fridge. I sat down at my desk with my water and a snack. Still had 10 minutes before the Zoom meeting. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed one of the couch cushions was crooked. It felt weird because I hadn't even sat on it in days. The meeting started. 18 people. Everything was going fine until my boss, Patricia, asked me to send the group some photos of a housing development I'd found while traveling in Holland. I smiled. "You'll be impressed," I said. I opened the photo app on my phone and started scrolling to find the folder. But the last photo on my camera roll wasn't from Holland. The last photo stopped my heart cold. It looked like 4 grotesque figures sitting on a couch. I zoomed in. My pulse went haywire, my skin tightened, and goosebumps rose in waves. "Mandy?" Patricia's voice cut through. "Did you find the photos?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. I was locked on that image, trying to make sense of it. "Mandy." This time, sharper. My stomach clenched. I felt like I might throw up. I looked at the laptop camera, muttered, "Excuse me," and slammed it shut. I stared at the photo, hands shaking. There were 4 people. 4 clowns. They were sitting on my couch, dressed in black hoodies and black and white clown makeup. These weren't friendly clowns, not the kind that bumble around at children's parties. These were something else. They looked like gang members mixed with Art the Clown. They were all staring straight into the camera, expressionless, dead serious. But that wasn't the worst part. What made my stomach twist and my vision blur was the woman draped across their laps, naked and limp, with their white-gloved hands strategically placed on the parts of her body you don't show to the world. That woman was me. I felt like my heart was about to explode. My body buzzed with panic. This wasn't real. It had to be fake. But then I remembered the greasy white smudge on my pillowcase, the water bottle I didn't recall drinking, and how awful I'd felt when I woke up. Texts were flooding in from Patricia. She was pissed. I needed to answer her, but I couldn't focus with that photo sitting in my gallery like a loaded gun. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself. It's just a prank, I told myself. Some kind of sick, glitched image or joke. I deleted it, closed my eyes, breathed in, breathed out. Then I opened my eyes, ready to text her back. But that freaking picture was back on my phone. Clumsy me, I thought, and deleted it again, only to see it reappear again and again. Same image, same timestamp, same frozen horror. My chest tightened. I could feel the panic build again. I checked the metadata, and it showed it was taken last night and with my phone. Trying not to throw up, I opened the sleep tracker app. It showed I left the bed at 2:17 a.m. and returned at 4:42 a.m., out of bed for over 2 hours. I had no memory of that at all. There was also a sharp spike in my heart rate, and location data said I walked around the apartment. I couldn't take it anymore. My hands were shaking, and my stomach felt like it was trying to tie itself into knots. I went to the cops. I didn't want to be one of those people. But what else was I supposed to do? 4 strangers might have broken into my apartment and posed with me while I was unconscious. That's not a prank. That's assault. I didn't care how crazy I sounded. I had proof. That picture, the timestamp, the sleep data, the greasy white smudge on my pillow, the open water bottle. I knew something had happened. The cop at the front desk looked at the photo for maybe 5 seconds before shrugging. "Probably AI generated," he said. "What?" "We see this a lot nowadays. People prank each other with fake photos. There are websites where you can make this stuff." I blinked. "You think I made this?" He shrugged again. "Could have been anyone with access to your phone or cloud account. Could be a bug. Try changing your passwords. Make sure your Bluetooth's off when you sleep." "That's it?" I asked. "You can file a report if you want. But if there's no sign of a break-in and no injuries, I don't think we'll be assigning anyone to it." I felt like I'd been slapped. "That's me. That's my couch. That's my tattoo," I said, and pointed to the purple butterfly on my thigh, clearly visible in the photo. "Look," he said, already bored. "I'm not saying it's funny. I'm just saying we get this kind of thing a lot lately. You can file a report, but I doubt anyone's going to take it seriously." And that was it. I left with nothing. Just me. And that photo. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept checking the locks. I unplugged everything. The router, Alexa, even my TV. I stuffed a towel under the bedroom door. Not sure why, but it felt safer somehow. Then I sat in bed with a kitchen knife and my laptop. At around 2 a.m., I started digging. I searched everything I could think of. Photo hacks, phone exploits, deepfake generators, sleepwalking forums. I finally found a thread buried deep in a tech forum. No usernames, just long strings of numbers and cryptic replies. Most of the thread was about something called blindfeed.exe. Not a program you download. It's something that gets pushed to your device through sketchy apps, QR codes, and even shared Wi-Fi. Once it's on your phone, it can access everything. Cameras, mics, sleep data. It can delete files, edit photos, upload them somewhere you'll never find. But the worst part? It's part of a challenge, a dark web competition. People compete in teams to stage the most creative home invasion photos or videos, drugging their victims, dressing up, posing with them. Bonus points for intimacy, emotion, or absurdity. The more disturbing the photo, the more views it gets. The more views, the higher the score. The team with the most upvotes wins real money. Some victims never even know they've been featured. Others, well, they figure it out too late. And if your photo keeps coming back after you delete it, that means you're trending. I couldn't stay there. I packed a bag, paid cash, and checked into a crappy roadside motel under a fake name. I unplugged everything, shoved a chair under the doorknob, slept with my phone in a Faraday bag and my knife under the pillow. Still, I woke up at 6:13 a.m. with that crawling feeling under my skin. I got up and noticed a piece of paper on the dresser. It hadn't been there when I went to sleep. I was sure of it. It was a printed photo. Me, asleep in the motel bed, surrounded by 4 clowns. 2 crouched beside me. 1 sat at the foot of the bed. The 4th clown was lying next to me, head on the same pillow, his face turned toward mine, like a couple. Underneath, typed in bold black letters, "You looked better in the first one. I've done everything I can. New name, new place, no smart devices, no Wi-Fi. I sleep with the lights on, but it doesn't matter because they're still playing. I'm writing this at 4:47 a.m. because I can't go back to sleep. Heck, I don't think I'll ever sleep again. Not after what I just saw. Or what I think I saw. I'm honestly not sure anymore. Let me start from the beginning, because maybe if I write this all down, it'll make sense. Yesterday was one of those days that just beats the hell out of you. Double shift at the warehouse, my supervisor breathing down my neck about quotas, and my back screaming from lifting boxes for 12 hours straight. All I wanted when I got home was a hot shower and my bed. I turned the water on and sat on the edge of my mattress while it heated up. Just for a second, I told myself, just until the steam starts fogging the mirror. The next thing I knew, I was waking up to the sound of running water. My apartment was thick with humidity, and I could hear the shower still going full blast. Great. I'd fallen asleep and wasted God knows how much hot water. My landlord was going to love the utility bill. That's when I tried to get up and realized I couldn't move. Sleep paralysis. I'd had it a few times before, usually when I was stressed or exhausted. Your mind wakes up, but your body stays locked in sleep. It's terrifying, but I knew it would pass. I just had to wait it out. But then I heard something that made my blood freeze. Footsteps. In my bathroom. Heavy, wet footsteps slapping against the tile. A voice echoed from behind the shower curtain, distorted by the water and steam. I can't get clean. The footsteps stopped. Then suddenly, the shower curtain was ripped aside, and someone stumbled out of my bathroom. I wanted to scream, but my paralysis held me prisoner. All I could do was watch as this thing stood dripping in my doorway. It looked like a man, but wrong. His skin was gray and slimy, covered in what looked like pond scum. Dark patches of mold spread across his arms and chest like bruises. Water poured off him in sheets, pooling at his feet. "I can't get clean," he screamed, his voice raw and desperate. He stumbled back into the bathroom, and I heard him climb back into the shower. The water changed pitch as his body moved under the stream. This happened again, and again. Each time he emerged, he looked worse. The scum grew thicker. Barnacles began sprouting from his shoulders and neck like grotesque jewelry. His skin took on a greenish tint, and something that looked suspiciously like seaweed hung from his hair. "I can't get clean," he'd mutter, quieter now, defeated. Then louder, "I can't get clean." I lost count of how many times he repeated this ritual. My paralysis held me captive as this nightmare played out in my bathroom. The humidity in my apartment became suffocating. The sound of running water mixed with his desperate sobs until I thought I might go insane. Then everything went black. When I came to, he was standing over my bed. His face was inches from mine, if you could still call it a face. Barnacles had claimed his left cheek. Something green and slimy dripped from his mouth onto my pillow. His eyes, bloodshot and wild, stared directly into mine. "I can't get clean!" he shrieked. The shock broke my paralysis. I jolted awake, gasping and shaking. My room was dark and quiet. No moldy man, just me, soaked in sweat, heart pounding against my ribs. Sleep paralysis. It had to be. The most vivid, terrifying episode I'd ever experienced, but just a hallucination brought on by stress and exhaustion. I laughed shakily, running my hands through my damp hair. That's when I noticed my apartment was still humid. I looked toward my bathroom, and my veins ran cold. There, leading from my bedroom to the bathroom, was a trail of wet footprints. And from behind my closed bathroom door, I could hear the unmistakable sound of running water. I'm sitting in my car now, parked outside a 24-hour diner, writing this on my phone. I grabbed my keys and ran. I couldn't bring myself to open that bathroom door. I don't know what to do. I can't go back there. But I also can't afford to find a new place. I keep telling myself it was just a nightmare, but those footprints, they were real. I don't think I'm ever going home. But my rear-view mirror is starting to fog up. I have been working as a freelance photographer on and off since I was in high school. It started off as a way to make money on the side, but as my portfolio casually grew, I began to land bigger jobs. Now I am a college graduate, and I have been pursuing a professional photography career more seriously. For the past few months, I have been doing jobs for companies that produce stock footage and photos. Funny enough, I had never considered there was really a market for that. But thinking about it now, I suppose it makes sense. However, I had an experience with one of the subjects of a recent shoot that has turned me off of doing any jobs for a long time. Just thinking about what happened to me is making me feel nauseous and just anxious. But I have to share it. It is just so damn strange. For the past few weeks, I had been doing shoots with a group of models at a studio in my area. I never understood the prompts for the photos, but I never questioned it because I was being paid. I took photos of the models in generic clothes doing various poses, holding random objects, and acting out oddly specific scenarios. I always wondered who were the people buying these stock images, and why. On the last shoot, about a week ago, one of the models approached me afterwards and very forwardly asked me to dinner. She was wearing a gray t-shirt with blue jeans and brandless white tennis shoes. Her hair was tightly pulled back in a ponytail, and now that I think about it, I cannot recall much of her facial features. I just remember thinking she was an attractive and kind woman. The way she spoke to me was a bit odd, however. Her phrases were very short, uninteresting, and unnatural. But I assumed maybe it was just because of the odd nature of a stock photo shoot. I always thought there was something kind of eerie about the lifelessness of the photos we took. They were all completely devoid of any human elements. It was almost like the people in the photos we took were not meant to be seen as real. Anyway, I obliged, because honestly, since college I had not dated much. She gave me her number, and that was the first real odd thing I noticed about her. The area code was not the same as the area code we lived in, and looking the code up, I could not find for which state the area code was for. It was seemingly for a non-existent state. I sent her a text when I got home to confirm her number. "Hey, this is Blake. Is this Jane?" She only took a few minutes to reply. "Hey Blake, this is Jane. How does dinner at my place this Friday sound? Does 7 p.m. work?" I was kind of thrown off by the idea of having dinner at her place, but I reasoned that was not such a weird thing, and I honestly found the idea endearing. I confirmed the plans, and after that, we did not text much. Eventually, Friday came, and I asked for her address, which she provided, and before I knew it, I was making the drive. She lived a surprising distance outside of town, and when I put her address into maps, the name kept coming up as a set of coordinates. The drive was eerily quiet, even with the radio playing. As I followed the maps, the whole atmosphere seemed off, but I did not think much of it. When I got to her street, I noticed the street was not on the map on my phone. Where there usually was a gray line indicating a road, there was just a blank area. Yet I saw a road, and populated houses lined it orderly. The street honestly looked a little out of place because the surrounding houses were all spaced out, and it was a pretty sparsely populated area. I just assumed maps had made an error and turned onto the street. Her house was at the very end of the street in a cul-de-sac. It was modest, one story, and slightly beige-colored with dark shutters. The lawn was kept, and a symmetrical flower bed bordered the walkway up to the porch. I texted her to let her know I was here. "Come on in. I'm excited to have you." I walked up to her front door and knocked. A light was on in the living room, and although not trying to be intrusive, I took a glance at the living room through the window. It looked like the set of a stock photo shoot. "Just come on in. I will be home soon." She was not home? I found that immediately strange and did not want to go inside, but reluctantly I entered. The door was unlocked. Her house was so strange. I got a better look at the living room. A blue rug, a coffee table with nothing on it, a navy couch with a lamp in the far corner. There was a TV stand, but no TV. The walls, a sickening gray with framed photos. I looked closer at them and realized they still had the placeholder photos in them. To the left of the entryway, a room with a dining table, a singular houseplant in the corner. Sitting on the center of the dining room table was an empty bowl. The whole house smelled like the warehouse section of a supermarket. At this point, I was starting to feel uneasy. I decided to take a seat on the couch. Somewhere in the depths of the house, I heard a clock ticking hypnotically. I did not even get on my phone to pass the time waiting for her. I just sat there, soaking up the entirely strange house, devoid of any personality. I stared at the pointless TV stand. The sun was starting to set. She sent me a text. "Hey Blake, this is Jane. How does dinner at my place this Friday sound? Does 7 p.m. work?" What? I chalked it up to a messaging error. "Hey Blake, this is Jane. How does dinner at my place this Friday sound? Does 7 p.m. work?" Something about the second time seeing the message was too much. I went to the living room window looking out it, hoping to see her car headlights heading down the street. Her car was in the driveway, and it was off. I remembered it had been there the whole time. I then was overcome with the horrible feeling of eyes on my back. A chill coiled up my spine, and I immediately felt sick. I turned. Through the living room was a side hallway. She was standing there. Although shrouded in darkness, I knew her eyes were fixed on me. The feeling was so malicious, so menacing, I began to heave. I left frantically out of her front door. I got to my car and got the hell away from her house. As I was pulling out of her driveway, I saw her figure move past the living room windows with an uncanny speed, yet her body remained stiff. She was at the front door, looking through the glass. Her eyes had never left me. I actually ended up driving to a friend's house to stay the night. He was very kind to have me on such short notice, and I explained everything to him. He's a good friend for not thinking I'm crazy. In fact, he helped me search for her socials, using the photos from our shoot as a reference. We did find her. We found the whole damn group of models. We could only find their photos on one website though, and just thinking about it makes me queasy. thispersondoesnotexist.com. Yesterday I got one final message from her. "This pull it at down house." It didn't make any sense. Then our conversation went green, indicating her number had been terminated. When I was a teenager, I lived in a small desert town. A tourist town, really. Think cowboy historic, with lots of old buildings and dust. I was able to make some extra cash babysitting on the weekends because there wasn't much else to do in the town anyways. One night, I was babysitting for a couple that had an infant. I met them at Target. They seemed like a nice couple and knew of another family I sat for. They lived way out of town. So far out that street, names are gone, and you use mile markers as your signs to know where you are. It was an easy gig. Baby was staying asleep, just had to feed him when he woke up. Parents would be back around midnight. I cozied up on the couch with Netflix and settled in for a chill night when the doorbell rang. Thinking it was one of the parents who forgot something, I jumped up and opened the door immediately. To nothing, it seemed. I shrugged and started to close the door when I heard a soft voice. I stopped the door and looked around the corner to see a girl standing on the steps to the porch. She was about my age, had long hair, and a hoodie pulled up. But her eyes, they were so light blue they were almost glowing in the dark. "Do you live at this house?" she had asked me. "Oh," I startled. "No, I'm just visiting." I was careful not to say too much, because although the girl seemed harmless, she was still a stranger. "Is Mrs. Rosino home? I need to talk to her," she asked. She seemed nervous, twiddling her thumbs, looking behind me into the house. "You know what? She just stepped out to go to the store. I can tell her you stopped by if you tell me your name," I said, slightly backing up. Ready to close the door, she stepped towards me, eyes darting around, and she put her hand over the zipper on her hoodie. She leaned forward and whispered, "Please tell me where she is. I don't want to hurt you." My heart dropped. She removed her hand from the zipper and really looked at me, her eyes pleading. "I'm sorry. She really isn't here right now," I said with a tight expression. Her face turned desperate, but at that point I had been thoroughly creeped out, so I closed the door and locked it. I called the Rosinos to let them know. Once I described the girl, they grew frantic. They told me they were calling the police and to stay with the baby. I still remember Mrs. Rosino screaming into the phone, "Don't leave my baby," over and over. I ran down the hall to the nursery, threw open the door, and ran to the crib. The baby was sound asleep still. I scooped him up gently and sat in the rocker with him in one arm, my phone in the other. "Help will be here soon," I had whispered, more to comfort myself than anything. Then the banging started. I could hear the front door shake from the force used to knock on the wood. Then the sound moved. Why aren't there any sirens? The police station wasn't far from this area at all, right before you turned on the mile marker. They should be here by now. I heard the banging travel along the house, one big knock at a time. Bang. They were by the living room. Bang. They were by the kitchen. Bang. They were by the hallway. I got out my phone and texted 911 help to my mom. She knew where I was babysitting tonight. She responded immediately with question marks, then tried calling. I silenced the call. I couldn't risk answering and the intruders hearing me. My mom would make sure the police got her. I knew it. Slowly moving closer and closer to where I hid in the nursery, the window was locked tightly with the blinds closed. But glass is breakable. Bang! They were at the wall next to the window. I backed away from the window to the corner of the room when I heard the front door creak open. The baby boy still asleep in my arms, I started to cry. I whimpered like a wounded puppy. I couldn't fight someone off while holding him, but I wasn't going to put him down. Footsteps descended the hallway. I heard muffled voices while doors were being opened and closed. "Where's the nursery?" a gruff voice asked. I don't know, Daddy. I couldn't see the floor plan online." The same small voice of the girl from earlier answered. "If that little girl wants to help them, that's fine. But he belongs to us. No one can keep him from us now." "Daddy, please. Maybe she will understand." The voices stopped right outside the door. The baby started to stir. I shushed him quietly and rocked him back and forth. Then I heard the sirens. I shot a thank you up to whoever was watching over me, grateful that this nightmare would soon be over. But the weirdest thing happened. The footsteps didn't retreat. No one ran, no one left, no one moved. I was sure they were going to come in and finish me off right before the police showed up, and then steal the baby into the night. But that didn't happen either. Loud footsteps came walking through the house. A boisterous voice called out towards the hallway. "Excuse me, sir. Are you a resident here? We got a call that a little girl was in trouble. Is she her?" Muffled voices sounded and trailed off, walking outside. I was waiting to hear anything. Yelling, screaming, more sirens. But it was silent. After what seemed like hours, heavy footsteps walked directly down the hallway toward me, and the door opened. A uniformed officer looked stern and took a look at me cowered in the corner with the Rossino baby. "Hey, sweetie, are you all right?" he asked, bending down to meet me at eye level. "Yes. Those people were trying to take the baby. They were going to kill me." "Why did it take you so long to get here?" I cried out, finally letting the tears fall as the adrenaline hit was coming down. The officer looked confused. "We came out the second the call came in. We made it here in about 5 minutes. Did you try to call in sooner?" He pulled his radio to his face, asking his other officer if any other calls were attempted. "Well, no, but the Rossinos called you at least 30 minutes ago. I called them first and they said they were calling you right away and to hide with the baby, so I looked down at baby Rossino. He had finally fully woken up and started to quietly cry. The officer just stared at me, a mix of sympathy and fear in his eyes. "Where are his parents? They surely should be here by now. He's probably a little scared and needs his mom. Did you arrest those psychos?" I patted his back and bounced him in my lap to help comfort him. The officer smiled sadly at me and spoke into his radio. "You can send them in." After a few moments, the nursery door opened and the teenage girl stepped through with a large man behind her. The girl started to sob, putting her hands up to cover her face. The older man placed his hand on her shoulder and looked at me sadly. The policeman stood and reached for the baby. "No!" I shouted. "What are you doing? Are you working with them? This is the Rossino's son." Then the girl finally spoke. "No, he isn't. He's mine." Which left me questioning the reality of what was happening.